Hello, and welcome to the Star Wars The Old Republic video boss fight guide for the pack leader, Red, who is the first boss in the Dxun Nature of Progress operation, which is a new operation added to the game with the 6.0 Onslaught expansion. Now, Red is a fairly straightforward boss, and also represents an initial heal and DPS check for the group, but fortunately it only has really a handful of mechanics that, if you watch and manage appropriately, makes the fight very straightforward. If you have good healers and good DPS, this fight actually becomes very, very easy once most of the group has seen the fight and once everyone kind of knows what to do. So we're going to walk through the mechanics, each one individually, then we'll talk about overall strategy. There are only a few differences between story mode and hard mode, so this guide is intended to cover both story mode and hard mode. So we'll largely talk about story mode, and then we'll drop in some little pointers around hard mode as we go. And then at the end, we'll talk more specifically about hard mode mechanics. Then we'll have a kill video at the end. So anyway, I hope this is helpful to you. This is a fun operation. Dxun is a really cool op. So this is the first step in getting through it, so I hope you enjoy. Okay, so let's dive in. Okay, so here is the map of the jungles where you load into the operation. You can see here there's a few player cursors here at the bottom middle of the map. That's where you load in after seeing the shortcut scene. You'll notice that there are building entrances on the north and east side of the building. If you try to go there, you will be one-shot, so don't be surprised. It's kind of a fun thing to do your first time through, just so everyone gets to experience the fun. But you follow the path, and you see you go up kind of near the north entrance while staying in the jungle, then you kind of follow that windy path until you get to that purple objective indicator there at kind of the top middle of the map. That's going to be where you find Red. All right, now here's a zoomed in screenshot of that area up at the top. You'll see here Red's typically going to be at the area marked here on this map. There are going to be a number of spore flowers. There are actually a bunch of them spread throughout that whole jungle area. We only really care about the first three. The first one is typically going to be random. It's usually going to be at one of these two spots. You can see here I've noted there's two there, only one of them is going to have a flower. There's a second one as you start to go around the bend. Then there's a third one there at the very end of this little path, right at the point where you reach a branching series of paths. Now, as we're going to discuss for strategy, we only want to use two of these flowers, because if we have to get to the third, we're going to deal with ads, which is going to be a big headache. The first mechanic we need to talk about is the Red Venom. Now, Red has a buff you'll see when we engage called Red Venom Cloud. See there, it's red. It applies stacks of Red Venom. You can see here the group has one stack. In a few seconds, it'll go to 2 stacks, and so on. Those stacks are a stacking dot. It does internal damage that cannot be cleansed by normal means. So that's the overall mechanic to the fight, is managing this dot. The higher stacks you go, the more damage you're going to take and the more pressure on the healers. It is cleansable. The only way to cleanse it is by using those spore flowers. You can see one in this screen up at the top where most of our group, our ranged DPS and healers, are standing. We'll see here in a few seconds we're going to go over and start using it. Whenever it's applied, it creates a blue circular effect that applies a buff. Here we can see using it. You see the spore flowers hitting the group, and these little blue dots above everyone's head. It applies a buff called Phospholaps Corona, if I'm not mispronouncing that. That cleanses, in story mode, it cleanses all stacks of the Red Venom dot. In hard mode, each tick that refreshes that buff reduces the number of stacks of the dot in half, rounding down. So after about 3 or so ticks, it removes all your stacks. That buff lasts for 30 seconds in story mode, 45 seconds in hard mode. If you look really carefully, you'll see the debuff there that is about to expire. The visual indicator you can see here are these blue circles above everyone's head. It gets smaller and smaller, and once it expires, we no longer have that protection, and now we start to get stacks of Red Venom again. So as we'll talk about in strategy, really this is the key mechanic of how many stacks can you go. It's the higher stacks you can tolerate as a group, the more damage you can do per use of each flower. And as I mentioned before, our overall goal in strategy is really just to use 2. So we'll talk about that more, but this is the fundamental concept, is keeping track of these dots. The next two mechanics are related to the boss's abilities. The first one is Hydrochloric Pool, which we'll see here shortly after we pull the boss. That puts it's centered on the boss's location after the 2-second cast, puts a big pink AoE effect on the ground. Anyone inside it suffers from Ruinous Corruption, which is bad for everyone. It decreases your outgoing damage, outgoing healing, and your defense and force attack resistance. So you need to get out of it as quickly as possible. Don't stand in it. It's important not to drop it near the flower spore thing, because you don't want people standing in that while also standing in the blue AoE. Second one you see right here is Acidic Jet, which is a 6-second channel that ticks damage in a conal pattern every half second, so 12 ticks. It ticks very, very hard. You can't cheese it with certain defensive abilities, but it's generally best to move out of it. You can interrupt it if you want, but the boss doesn't do any damage, any of its single target damage during that time. It's better to step out of it and not interrupt it, but if you have a tank that maybe struggles with it or has lag, you can interrupt it. So those are the two main boss mechanics. The boss also does a single target attack, but really nothing worth noting about that. So the next mechanic I want to talk about is a tank mechanic that's specific to hard mode. It's called Festering Wound. There's a green debuff you'll see, which is why I've zoomed into my character bar here. Now when we pull the fight in just a moment, you'll see a green debuff pop up with 1 stack. Each of those stacks reduces the amount of incoming healing that you're getting from the healers by a relatively small amount, about 1% or so per stack. See there, you can see 1 stack. And it's going to tick every couple of seconds. You're going to get an extra stack. I actually lose aggro here briefly to DPS, so there was a bit of a pause. And now that I've got the boss here, start to see those stacks ticking up pretty steadily. It takes 30 seconds for those stacks to expire. So it takes a long time. And so this mandates a tank swap in hard mode. The best practice is typically to swap around 15 to 18 or so stacks. Since it's about 2 seconds per stack application, that should give, so if you're the main tank, that should give you enough time for your stacks to fully drop off right around the time the other tank hits, around 15 to 18 stacks, and so you can swap pretty steadily, and that's going to overall maximize the efficiency of the healing that you're getting. Otherwise, pretty straightforward, just one thing to keep track of, not particularly difficult. And if you go a little over in stacks, it's not really a huge deal either, so that's helpful. Okay, so let's now talk about strategy. Again, our overall goal in story mode or hard mode is going to be to try to cleanse the red venom stacks, around 8 to 10 stacks. This is a hard mode kill you'll see here. So we're going to pull the boss. We want to make sure we drop those hydrochloric pools well away from the flower. The flower is actually on our right, which you'll see momentarily. So our main tank here is going to hold the boss basically right up against this wall because he's way far away. We're going to drop the first hydrochloric pool here. We'll be at about 3 to 4 stacks of red venom. We're going to pull the boss out of the pool immediately, just slightly outside of it. We move outside of the first acidic jet, keep wailing on the boss. We're about 5-6 stacks now of red venom. There's going to be a second charge of red venom that I now have the boss on minion, so I'm going to hold the boss. Take the second cast of acidic jet. Right around the time that finishes is when we're going to hit around 10, 11, 12 stacks, which is when even really good healers start to fall behind. So our group's going to want to hit that blue flower right around the time we get that second acidic jet. If we can hold on a little longer, that helps the tank, because there's going to be another hydrochloric pool that's going to drop right after that. So you'll see it's going to come here in a second. Our group's going to start cleansing, and then as soon as I see that cast, I'm going to run into the circle, because it's based on the boss. We're going to hit the puddle here and start cleansing. So we're all standing in here. You notice I'm going to pull the boss to the back here, so that when he does his acidic jet, he's not going to cleave the group. We're getting everybody cleansed, getting all those stacks down. Healers are getting caught up and regenerating energy. So then I'm going to move out. Since this is hard mode, I've now got a lot of stacks of the debuff, so the other tank's going to pick up the boss. Now we're all pretty well situated. We got most of our stacks gone. Not perfect, since there's a few left, but pretty good. And now we're just going to hold the boss here. And we've got a little bit of time before we get any more stacks. because of the buff we got from the AoE circle. So we're going to hold him here until we start getting stacks again. We've got a Hydrochloric Pool. Now we're just going to kind of walk him down the path towards the second flower. We don't want to pull the boss too close to the flower, since, again, we don't want to drop that Hydrochloric Pool on the flower, because then you either have to stand in it and do no damage and no healing, or you have to move out of it, in which case you're going to get those stacks of red Venom. And it's all about managing the dots. So we're going to kind of move him along here. And that's pretty much it. We're just going to keep following that pattern. Step out of the conal, step out of the puddle. Once stacks of the dot get high enough, you step into the blue circle to cleanse it. That's really it. Once we get past the second flower, we're going to kind of try to not move the boss much at all, because if we get to that third flower, we're going to get ads start to come in that are a real pain. So once we get past that second flower, we're just really going to inch him along. So you see here the camera angle's getting a little awkward. We're right kind of near the flower. You can kind of see it just on the other wall. But again, I'm far enough away. I've got the boss here, so I can drop another Hydrochloric Pool and not cleave the entire group. This is where we step in to cleanse. Things go a little sideways. Hopefully you get kind of the overall idea to the fight. It can be a little chaotic until you get the rhythm and timing down. The key here is to make sure that you cleanse early enough that you don't lose anyone, but not too early that you end up having to group up other ads. See here, we were a little late. We had one death. But we're doing pretty well. We're getting the cleanses, and we're actually going to get a kill here. But anyway, that's the overall strategy. It's a fairly simple strategy. Once you kind of get the hang of the timing, the real key here is knowing that you have enough DPS and knowing your comfort level of your healers. This is actually our prog group, so we have exceptionally strong healers, so we're being really, really aggressive here, which makes, now that we're past the second flower, gives us a pretty large cushion to get the boss down. But really, you kind of need to know how high can you go. It's going to be a little different for every group, but kind of once you know that, it may take a few pulls if you're new to this to get the hang of it. Once you kind of know what's safe for you, you shouldn't have too much trouble with this fight. Pretty easy. I think a lot of fun. All of the kind of jabbering of the voices of the folks walking you through this before this fight really sets the tone for what I think is a really fun, exciting operation that's been added to SWTOR. So again, sorry for blabbing on and on. Hope this has been helpful to you. Good luck in your operation, and then after this I'll show a full kill in 16-man when I'm not actually from a tank perspective, so maybe a little less chaotic for the camera. So anyway, best of luck and thanks.
Hydrochloric acid! I'd advise not standing in it. Well,
That is base expense rewards for her
indicate the horde is beginning to dissipate. They were responding to red after all.
We can contemplate the implications later. Ground team, recover Wen's ID and head to the facility.